There's a lot of clamoring right now for people to explain themselves, for people to take a stand, for people to say certain words to appease others. There's a lot of pressure that's being put on certain individuals and even corporations to make a statement. I find it interesting because what do we really owe anybody? Do we really owe someone an explanation? I would say there are cases in which, yes, we do owe someone an explanation. When you owe someone an explanation, it's usually when you've done something wrong, especially in relationships that are built on love and trust. If you have wronged another and you're in that sort of relationship, yes, you owe them an explanation for your behavior. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about are people who are demanding explanations from people they don't even know. Perhaps a corporation or a business or someone who operates a channel on YouTube. People are demanding explanations from those they are not in a loving, trusting relationship with. And in many cases, probably in almost all the cases, the person they are demanding the explanation from hasn't done anything wrong. They've just stayed silent. And silence now is not being looked upon as a good thing. Silence is being viewed as agreement with the other side, or the side which has been judged as wrong. Silence is being viewed as a refusal to address an issue. It's interesting how not too long ago we thought silence was golden. Now, being silent is to be as guilty as if you committed the crime yourself. Here's an interesting take on that. I don't know how many of you are parents, but what if you had a child that was, let's say, 2 years old, and your child wanted something that you weren't going to give her in that moment? Let's say she wanted a cookie, or to go outside or play with a certain toy, or she wanted to do something that wasn't in her best interest at that moment, and you as a parent know that. Because you're the parent, right? You are the adult, and she is the child. So you tell her no. No, she cannot have the cookie. No, she cannot play with her friends, or whatever the case may be. Because you know better. You have the experience and wisdom the child does not possess so early in life. But the child decides to throw a temper tantrum. The child starts saying, "But why? I want that cookie. I want to go visit that friend. I want this. I want that. Why can't I have it? Why?" And she throws a temper tantrum and gets down on the floor and rages and pounds her fists and stamps her feet. What do you do as an adult, as a parent in such a situation? What is the best course of action? Well, as a parent, the best thing you can do is to ignore that child. There is no reasoning with her in that moment. She will not listen to anything you have to say in that moment. Not only that, it is not your job to reason with her. You told her what was best for her. She didn't understand it, but she does not deserve an explanation from you as to why she can't have that thing. It's not something she needs to know, because she can't handle the explanation. So when a child has a temper tantrum, you ignore it. You are sending a message to that child that you are above that child when it comes to wisdom, when it comes to authority. You know better than that child. And that's the message you're sending to her, that you will not entertain or be a party to such behavior. And you don't owe the child an explanation because you haven't done anything wrong. She is just extremely immature in how she handled your response. So maybe you see what I'm getting at here. People who demand that we respond to them, people who are demanding a response that you are not in a loving, trusting relationship with and you don't even know in most cases, look at the person, look at the group of people. Are they demanding a response much as the child is throwing the temper tantrum? Are they being childish? Are they being immature? Are they being unreasonable? If so, the only response a true mature adult person can give is to ignore that person. You don't kowtow to them. You don't give an explanation. You don't have to answer to them as to what side you stand on. You don't have to cower to their demands, to repeat certain words. You don't owe them that, any more than you owe the child the attention they are seeking when they throw a temper tantrum. And that's all it is, isn't it? Attention-seeking behavior. Look at me as I place my demands on you. Look at me, listen to me, answer me. It's much the same in an abusive relationship, when the abuser is pulling out all the stops to get you to pay attention to them, changing tactics. Listen to me. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Insulting, apologizing, whatever the case may be. All of it to get attention, right? Because it doesn't matter who it is. People that seek attention are seeking it for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they need the attention as fuel. They need the attention so it can push them further on. And when you give attention to it, you give them exactly what they want. If you try to reason with the temper tantrum child, you are giving them exactly what they want and not at all what they need. So, if you find yourself in that position where someone is trying to force an explanation out of you, force a statement from you, if you've examined the person and you've done nothing wrong and you don't even know this person, sometimes the wisest thing to do, the most mature thing to do, is to completely ignore them. Ignore the behavior completely. Don't give it credence. Don't give it weight. Ignore it. And they'll give up. They know they're not going to get anywhere and they'll move on to the next target. If you listen to a symphony written by one of the world's greatest composers, listen to all the notes and phrases and harmonies and melodies, and if I asked you which note was the most important in the whole symphony, you might be surprised to realize that sometimes it's not the notes, it's the silence. People don't realize it, but silence is music. Silence in music is called a rest. It's a pause. It can make a loud statement. Silence can make a loud statement. So, just like musical compositions, there are times to make sound, times to use notes, times to play, and times to rest. A great composer knows how to use silence in music. They know how to use it effectively in order to make the greatest impact. There's a brilliance in using silence in musical composition. That's the same as it should be in our lives, a time to speak and a time to be silent. Do you know when to speak? Do you know when it's better to be silent? Can you discern for yourself? The wise person knows when to speak and when to be silent. Silence can be incredibly powerful. Sometimes silence is a good thing. And when they say that good people shouldn't be silent, while I understand why this can also be a true statement, perhaps they don't understand there's a reason for the silence at that particular time. It's not so much good as it's mature. I just think mature people aren't stooping down to the level of the children. And when the time comes to say something, maturity will say it with authority, and it will be heard.